in Cowess. I know in 2021, you made some big headlines with the discovery of the unmarked graves at that former Mayorvale residential school. Like that was a big one. And how did the community cope with that tragedy? And what kind of steps did you have to take? And what that look like for yourself?
hmm it was a moment in our history as Cowessess First Nation that changed us, that we adapted quickly. Growing up as a kid on Cowessess, we have a bingo hall, a hall not too far, and from in the valley by the unmarked graves. And as a kid, my mom would, I'd go to bingo with my mom, and she'd always tell us, "Don't go play over there. There's unmarked graves." People knew. We just never really asked questions of what unmarked graves are, who are they, and it's just they were just there. And the ground radar penetrating, 751 hits. We were doing ours, and we were doing it not to go public. We were doing it just because we wanted to start to put headstones to unmarked graves. Like it was a matter of a duty for us. And then Kamloops, Chief Kashmir came forward on behalf of Kamloops and shared 231, I believe the number was in May of 2021, and it just like paused the whole country. It just, it was just like a moment of truth. And, that moment, Cowses, we were about to finalize our numbers. And so we finalized our numbers a few weeks later. And, getting guidance from knowledge keepers and from leadership and from others, we went public with our number just to show that, we were working on ours as well. And the amount of uh, local, provincial, national, and international attention. Cowsis was not really ready for that. Like the unmarked graves is validation to Indigenous people of the pain, frustration, anger, tiredness of trying to remain Indigenous in a country that is still somewhat oppressive to the Indigenous worldview. And so here we are, many Indigenous people are just dealing with our emotions and feelings, and on cows is hundreds of people and media started to show up. And our immediate reaction was hospitality, because that's who we are as cows as people. We'll always try give the best hospitality, but we didn't have the resources to address our own personal emotions to this at the time. And then it was triggering, internally, Indigenous to Indigenous, we started to agree and disagree on the validation. We started to disagree and agree on the numbers and the stories, and it was a lot. And then a few weeks after that, the Prime Minister and Premier came to Cowses with our invitation. We asked them to come, and it just calmed the moment down that two people who represent the Western world view, Saskatchewan and Canada, came to just be in the moment with us. And it really helped us in the direction that we are today. And today we have um, matured, I believe, as a nation to a different level in our healing journey because of that moment. But that moment was too overwhelming, not enough resources, and too much came at us at once. To go back again, I wish we would have wrote more of the story down. We just all took it with stride.
Yeah. No, and I mean, that's kind of the story too for a lot of nations, a lot of communities, right? It just a lot of things are so overwhelming, and you got to just run around. You're just putting out fires, and you don't really get a chance to, well, for one, document any of that and take some lessons and learnings. It's always just next fire, right? And you're just running
Mm-hmm.
around. Um, that's a lot, man. That was again from the outside. You handled it quite well. I mean, as far as I could gather. I mean, I spent a lot of time looking at these things, and again with my career, it's part of what I do, right? And really interested in native communities and how nations handle things and the way things are going. And it's again, I think you guys did the best you could with what you had, and that's kind of where it is. And that leads to my next one, which is which is a little better story in the sense of you guys became the first community to have jurisdiction over your kids in care, which is awesome, man. And now I'm seeing other communities really pushing for that, fighting for that, getting it, and being able to control that. Like, what did that initiative come from the group? Did it come from a certain person? And how did that feel as a win for the community?
Cowessess First Nation, we're a rights holder, just like every other 633 nations across this country, as well as Métis and Inuit. And as rights holders, we have an inherent right to our children. In 2017, a year and a little bit after I was elected chief, I was sitting with the community, with the leaders, and we started to assess what we can control in our destiny moving forward, what we can gain strength on. And child welfare reform was a discussion. It started with a coffee, actually, with Elder on Cowessess. We were breaking bannock and having tea at her house, and she was sharing with me the challenges she has with her grandchild in the system, in the child welfare system. And so I started to let her know that we have an inherent right to this, and Canada is about to approach it as well as an alliance as a crown relations. Theirs was called Bill C-92, now the Act. And so the elder I was sitting with said, let's do it. And so I went to council. You always got to start at council in Indigenous governance. So I went to council. The 8 council members, just said, make sure we can, get reelected and don't send us back 20 years doing this. So I said, I'll do my best. And we assembled a team with council, with knowledge keepers, with Cowessess members, and with non-Cowessess members, and we embarked on a journey. We started to assess our losses of control when it comes to our inherent rights to our children. It's something a nation has to do. You have to understand where you're colonized and where you have to decolonize. It's nothing. It's a tough conversation, but it's so. Anyways, we had those conversations, and we eventually created the Mio Pima Tiswin Act, which is the Cowessess child welfare law, means striving for a better life in Cree. We then approached the governments, Saskatchewan and Canada, and said, you have a fiduciary obligation to fund our inherent right law. We have full jurisdiction across this country. We're going to treat our children the same from Nova Scotia to Winnipeg to on the reserve to Calgary. We have a model that has always worked. Your provincial systems are not working. And in July of 2021, Prime Minister Trudeau, Premier Mo came to Cowessess, and the 3 of us signed in front of the Cowessess members in a beautiful celebration at our arbor, the Mio Pima Tissuin Act, as well as funding for it. And so today, Cowessess is in year 3 of full jurisdiction of controlling our destiny with our model when it comes to children in care.